उसकी निगरानी के लिए हमारी केरल की ही संतान और मेरी सरकार के मंत्री मुरलीधरन जी को मैं उसकी निगरानी के लिए वहां भेज रहा हूं ताकि ऑपरेशन कावेरी बहुत तेज गति से हम सफलतापूर्वक पूर्ण करें।
Moving on here on the right stand, after a 36-day-long run, Amritpal Singh gave himself up to the Punjab police in the native village of his role model and original Khalistani mascot, Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. He is currently lodged in the Dibrugarh jail in Assam. And here on the right stand, we decode how Amritpal was not just plotted or propped up by the Pak ISI, but he was also brazenly misled by them. This is the exclusive that we bring to you this evening on the right stand on this man Amritpal. The fact that he was a weakling, we will expose. The fact that he was propped up, a mere puppet, an instrument in the machinations of the ISI, but more importantly, he was misled. A different picture was painted out to him. And as the information will unravel, you will realize the devious methods the enemy is using, and especially with those who are born post 1984 massacre of Sikhs in our country. Let's move on to this. Moving on to the exclusive part, intelligence sources tell Amritpal say that Amritpal was definitely planted after a deliberation to fill in the space of Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. So there was a desperation amongst those who are orchestrating this Kashmir Khalistan narrative that after Bhindranwale, somebody needs to be propped up in that space. The ISI realized that movement from Canada, UK and Germany was not yielding too much of result. So whatever was happening there in these foreign nations, in this foreign soil, and the disruptions there was not creating any problems or any gains, yielding any gains for the enemy or the ISI. The ISI's plans also failed in Pakistan, Punjab, that's the Pak province of Punjab, and Sikhs also snubbed them outright. And then Pakistan got in touch with some of these K elements or the K rogues based in the United Kingdom. The ISI felt that Gurpatwant Panun's referendum agenda was also failing to gather much momentum or support on ground. So what happened is the ISI reached out to some of these K-rogue elements based in the United Kingdom, and they identified this man who was plying his wares at a truck company or a transport company in Dubai, and they identified him for ground zero operations. What was Amritpal told? The Pak ISI got in touch with these K elements. These K entities went and told Amritpal that Sikhi or Sikhism is in danger in India. They led him to believe, an educated youngster but a little wayward in his ways, that he has the opportunity to go and take control and revive Sikhi and save Sikhi in India, which was under attack. That was what was told to him. The ISI wanted to revive this entire Bhindranwale move, but this is how they wanted to coach. This is what we are given to understand. Intel sources are telling us that Amritpal was told about the need to revive Sikhi and how he could do it and how he would receive all the help from these elements if he chose to go back to Punjab, go back to India and do it. We are given to understand that Amritpal Singh himself is abusing Pakistan. So he's got no love for Pakistan or for the enemy. He for till now was believing that he is doing something to help revive Sikhism in India by talking about these issues, not realizing the machinations of the enemy. He says he's been abusing Pakistan. Pakistan now, this is what sources are telling us. Overall, this is the agenda of the enemy. Pick out youth, youngsters, people born post-84, spin a narrative about the 84 Sikh massacre in such a way to say that Sikhs are leaving the country and settling abroad. Sikhs are a small number and not getting enough representation. Sikhs are in trouble and Punjab is being rid of Sikhs. And Sikhism is in danger from various aspects. So you have to ensure that there is a separate land for Sikhs so that Sikhism survives and Sikhs survive. This is the narrative being put. So this false narrative is being pushed. So what happened after Amritpal got arrested? Intelligence sources telling our investigations editor Manoj Gupta that during the transit and the conversation which was happening at that time, Amritpal has actually abused Pakistan and told them that he knows about the situation of minorities and Muslims in Pakistan. Sources telling News 18 that during these 35 days when Amritpal was missing, his family was actually meeting officials multiple times, in touch with them. Sources say that Amritpal's wife also sent a message to Khanda, Avtar Singh Khanda, who was Amritpal's handler, that he will be held responsible if anything happens to Amritpal. The family will openly hold him responsible. The wife also alleging that Avtar Singh Khanda misled Amritpal. Sources say that during the flight from Bhatinda to Assam in that AN-32, which was known for its bumpy rides, he actually puked, he vomited out of fear, uneasiness, multiple aspects which show that he is not a hardened, radicalized man like Riaz Bhatkal or some of the others. Agencies are now actually probing Amritpal's funding and his handlers. With Amritpal in custody, the centre is now focusing the attention on trying to ensure there can be a noose that can be tightened around these pro-K groups operating on foreign soil. News 18 has further information that there is engagement and there is an effort to try and do a massive crackdown on all these K puppets propped up by the enemy, and that there is information we have here at News 18 that India is expecting some action to be seen, especially against those who have vandalized our consulate, our Indian property, attacked temples, and the inaction against these outfits have been raised at multiple fora with these nations. Also, we are given to understand and information that an NIA team will soon visit London and meet officials to probe the attack on the Indian High Commission. India's External Intelligence Agency has also been asked to prepare a dossier on pro-Khalistan entities, and the Internal Intelligence Agency meanwhile is working on establishing a link between local support in Pakistan and pro-Khalistani entities abroad. Sources have said that the investigation will look at ground handlers supporting the Khalistani agenda from India. But what stands out, ladies and gentlemen, is how deep the rot runs in terms of the narrative and how well they de-link their real agenda, prop up the agenda which they think will work on ground, and then they are misguiding youth. Ramnik Maan, activist with us, Shashikant ji, former DG Punjab, and also Puneet Sahani, activist with us. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. Puneet Sahani, you had called this out. You had called out that the language, one of the things that you had called out in your when you put out on social media, is that Amritpal was also a very smart guy. His language and his tone and what his narrative is when he's speaking in English is different. When he moves into Punjabi, it's different. So he's catering to two different audiences. The other aspect is of this targeting, that an Amritpal is a soft target. It's a false narrative that is spun, and these people are made to think that Sikhi and Sikhs are in danger in India.
So, Namaste Anand Bhai, Jai Ma Bharti. So there are a few points. Now, first of all, it's not false narrative. These are just like psychopathic liars. So, for example, now I was listening to this 2-minute speech. I think it was 100-second speech that he gave before he surrendered to the police. Now, in that 100-second in Punjabi, anybody can listen. You know what he's saying? I counted, it was 6 or 7 times. He said in this 1 month while I was away, he was justifying why he was running around like a dog and why he surrendered now. He says 6-7 times that, the government had unleashed a great repression of Sikhs. Look, imagine what kind of a conversation you can have with such deranged and such filthy liars. What repression has happened to the Sikhs? Ramnik Bhai is sitting here, everybody is sitting here, everybody is doing it. Sikhs are the most, beloved and thriving community here. Now, if somebody is saying nonsense like that, what kind of argument you can have? And I will just make a, a salient point. So, what you say, about very few, Sikhs are involved. All this is true, Anandji, and this is also I'm bringing out. But there is another perspective to it. The thing is, it's not how many, Sikhs support Khalistan or not. Almost nobody supports it. But the question is, can a few number of Sikhs who are radicalized and the government who doesn't, deal with them firmly, can they create a havoc or not? This is what happened in Punjab. You will be surprised, even after Blue Star, there was not a large support amongst the Sikhs against for Khalistan. I'll tell you, the main guy of Bhindranwala, who was Amrik Singh, He lost the Gurdwara election. They can't even win a Gurdwara election. From Moga, he lost from Jeevan Singh Ji Umranagar. When they did a sociological study of Punjab, then they asked people, why had you joined the Khalistan movement? So like the people who had joined for Bhindranwala, for Khalistan, for Delhi 84, for Blue Star, all these people together, they were hardly 10%. And 40 people have joined Shokiya Tor se. This was the reason they had given in sociological study that had been done by 3 very reputed sociologists of Guru Nanak Dev University, that they had joined for looting, they had joined for rape, and because they lived for less than 1 year. But in that 1 year, they committed 50 rapes. So they did not even have support then. But you see what the havoc was unleashed in Punjab. And more than, 22,000 Punjabis were killed. Because, we didn't manage this issue properly. So as much as I accept this point that only it's a small fringe, but it's a small fringe, and if we don't manage it correctly, it doesn't mean it can create a havoc for the entire country.
Point well made, Puneet ji. Let me just bring in Ramnik and Shashikant ji. Ramnik ji, before I get into the narrative aspect with Shashikant ji, the post-84, using the 84 massacre as a narrative to try and spin a different story altogether abroad. This is a narrative game. Now we are given to understand Amritpal may know a lot of things or may not know a lot of things, but right now what we are given to understand that he was made to believe that what he is doing is in the interest of Sikhi, to save it, to revive it.
Okay, Sashrikal, Namaste, Jai Hind, Anand.
Ji.
See, Anand, I would, want to tread with caution when it comes to Amritpal. To be honest, I mean, he's been demanding Khalistan on Indian soil. This is the first time this has happened. Even Bhindranwala didn't ask for Khalistan. He said, in chaste Punjabi, Bibi, je tu de dengi ta le lange si mang deni. In the sense, if you offer us, if you give us Khalistan, we'll take it, we don't demand it. So this is the first time somebody on Indian soil demanded Khalistan. That is one. Number two, why I say conclusively that he is a Pakistani implanted stooge or an agent is because he's never demanded Khalistan on the Pakistan side of Punjab. He's never asked for Kartarpur Sahib, he's never asked for Nankana Sahib, Punjab Sahib. He's never discussed the Khalistan or the Khalsa Raj that he talks about on the west of the Radcliffe line. That is true. Third, when it comes to protection of Sikhs, Sikhs needed protection in Afghanistan, he never stood for it. Sikhs still need protection in Pakistan, he's never spoken a word about it. Sikhs in Iran, in Iraq, they have never spoken about it. There were affluent Sikh families in Iran, by the way. And Sikhs in Africa are still very affluent. That whether it is Uganda or Kenya or East Africa, Sikhs are doing very well in business in other areas, in other spheres. I mean, this is how it is really. And this man would come out on Indian soil and tell people like me or people like Puneet that, Asi Galam, Sikhs are slaves in India. I mean, how dare he say that? This is my land, this is my country, this is my territory. So somebody who's been brainwashed comes around, he talks about Khalistan on the Indian side of Punjab, not on the Pakistani side of Punjab. There is no discount that we could or we should give him. That is number two. Number three. Now, as far as his brainwashing is concerned, of course he's brainwashed. And it's not just brainwashed. He also gets benefited financially. He's made a lot of money. That is evident from the accounts. That is evident from the way he is actually enjoying luxuries while he talks about secessionism in India. So he's getting what he deserves. I feel that, he must get a fair trial as per the Indian constitution, and he should be punished for secessionism and trying to breed discontent and disharmony amongst Hindus and Sikhs. He's always tried to, he was very well rehearsed with his agendas and topics. Mass conversions of Sikhs in Punjab, yes, it is a problem. Unemployment in Punjab, yes, it is a problem. And, apart from conversion, unemployment, the drug menace in Punjab, yes, it is a problem. But those are problems which are political in nature. You don't need a separate country to deal with them.
Correct.
And you, on one hand, discuss about drug menace, and the other hand, you use a drug suppliers or somebody who's been accused of being a part of the narco terror. You use his vehicles, you're using his money. And, don't even ask me, Anand, about the drug rehabilitation camps that he was running. He had no doctors.
Yeah.
And, the kind of inhuman condition people were going through, and how they were being radicalized, how they got weapons, how they got advanced sophisticated wireless sets, how they got those bulletproof jackets. He was in preparation of a very different nature of war within India. So I'll not discount him as somebody who's been purely brainwashed and nothing else. He's not innocent, to be very honest.
So you're trying to say that you cannot buy this aspect that he is just a puppet and he did not know and he's been played along and he's been played. He knew what he was getting into, he was benefiting from it, profiting from it, and there are ulterior aspects which point to the fact that he knew. But Shashikant ji, this guy is a weakling. For somebody to puke it all out, puke his guts out in the flight because he couldn't handle it, and for the way he's been behaving right now, soon that he's been caught, and he has had to surrender. He's given himself up.
Yeah, in the intelligence parlor, when this kind of stupid operations are launched, like the one which was launched by Pakistan, Khanda and Pannu, etc., they are just nothing but their mouthpieces of the ISI. And again, having said it, Kathmandu and Dubai remain the major hubs of the ISI presence. ISI has overseas, big overseas stations out there. They identified this person, and look at what happened. It is clear that the entire so-called short-term operation by the ISI through Khanda or Pannu or whatever that might be, it was being very closely monitored, or maybe I can use the word choreographed. Funds were being pushed into, everything was there. And I was listening to the gentlemen who were talking before me. Yes, I fully agree, like I have said, that whenever you launch an operation, this kind of deep infiltration, whether for short term or long term, you have to find a weak link, because weaklings can be brainwashed very easily. If a person has some sense in his head, then that's difficult to brainwash him, number one. And secondly, I say that this he was here for 6-7 months, and in 6-7 months, certainly he indulged in so much of there was so much of upheaval, there was so much of panic, which was not there in that sense even in 84. 84 we were talking about. Why the terrorist militants lost? Because a major chunk of Punjabi population had turned against them, like my predecessor was saying, that my gentleman who spoke before was saying that this person has started extorting money, raping, and all those sort of things. So they lost sympathy. And this particular incident of this person clearly shows that in Punjab there is no such thing as a demand for Khalistan. Had it been there, at least 1 or 2 persons would have spoken in his favor. Nobody's talking about him. And yes, the persons he took out to, whether it's Ajnala or whatever, they were the persons who were being, again, as brainwashed. The persons who were on drugs, they are also weaklings. He was brainwashing them. Like, it's obvious that he was trying to get bulletproof vests and all those things in his so-called camps to de-addict them. Basically, he was indoctrinating them. Same, he was a weakling. He had identified a substantial number of other weaklings, and they were very scientifically, they were trying to motivate them and to sort of brainwash them to indulge into all these activities. And having said this thing, I'll say that this 35 days, okay, ultimately this person has been arrested, but this is not the end. This is the beginning now. Because for 35 days, he was hiding somewhere. Somebody was feeding him. Somebody was giving him money. Somebody was supporting him. Now, these guys have to be identified, because these are exactly what in our language we call sleeper cells. And these sleeper cells, at the behest of their masters sitting in Pakistan and all those places, sometimes they attack a courthouse in Ludhiana, or some they try to carry some explosive in the court in Karnal and all sorts of things. Now the task starts. I hope that the Punjab government, with the help of central agencies, they try to unearth the entire network which has been lying there. Unfortunately, since 84, no attempt has been made to unearth these elements, these sleeper cells, who are getting drugs, who are getting money, who are getting explosives through drones. The other day only a damaged drone was recovered, lots of ammunition was recovered. So this is the time when these agencies, instead of sort of patting their backs, yes, pat your backs, yes, but get to the
See, they have
next
taken-
task, that is to identify
Sir,
these
they have
people's
taken-
names. Thank you.
Sir, you've put some matters in perspective. I'm just going to bring in Puneet. Puneet, there are many who are watching this broadcast who are also saying this does not end here. This is just the tip of the iceberg or one cog in the entire wheel. The entire wheel needs to be dismantled, and that's the larger challenge, because there are those who have already bought into this narrative and who are feeding it.
No, Anandji, please, like the thing is, you deal with firmly. Actually, I'll tell you very, like, if you read what was happening in 1991 and 1990, this was the worst period of militancy,
Ji.
where on an average more than 5,000 people were being killed. And when they saw, like, what was happening, if you read the most senior people of the security establishment, I think it was Mr. D.P. Sharma, if you read his book, they were making the argument that resolve, nothing can happen, everything is lost. This is what all the journalists were writing. But when Mr. Gill came and he showed some courage and clarity and resolve, nobody imagined that in 6 months all this Khalistani militancy will die down when it was so bad. So we just have to show right now, the government is not clear that yes, this is a problem. We understand it. We are not going to, make any negotiation, and, we will deal with them firmly. Then everybody would come out and, speak against them. If they see like the government, is going to, placate them and something, then nobody's mad, because these people are wild, these people are violent, and other people are decent family people. They will never come in support if they think like the government has no clarity or, courage to take them on. That is point number one. The second thing is, you said weakling. Oh, bhai, all of them are a weakling. Deep Sidhu, who was saying that we have done this Red Fort.
Ji.
You find this video when the police was after him, he was running for a month and he was crying like a little girl. I'm not exaggerating.
Ji.
You can find videos, and Deep Sidhu is a leader. Bhindranwala, they don't know, this was not the first time that he had hidden the Gurdwara. This was the third time. When Black Thunder happened, Mark Tully is still alive. If you read his, the Khalistanis used to say, we will do this, the government should come and do that. When, they did Black Thunder, these people, and by the way, they had cyanide in their thing. So if they had honor, they could have chewed it. These people got inside the Golden Temple and they defecated inside the Sanctum Sanctorum, these Khalistanis. And when they came out, for example, there was one guy, a very famous militant, Kara Singh Thande. He did not take the cyanide when he was inside the temple. He defecated inside. But when he came out and he saw the police and he saw the police identified him, he quickly ate the cyanide. So these are the cowards of the largest, you can't even imagine. But you have to show that you're a coward. If you don't show that you have, these people will, dance on your head. And one point I will make is I'll give you a history. Like, for example, this guy was found from Bhindranwala Gurdwara. First of all, if you read SGPC, is it allowed to make a Gurdwara in name of Bhindranwala? If you, nobody has read it. But if you actually read, when SGPC is a British creation.
Ji.
At that time, the Gurdwaras were called Dharamsal. So they are still called Dharamsal, where Afghani Sikhs live, for example, because it's out of Punjab. I'm telling you a very important bit of history.
Ji.
So when SGPC had to capture all these Gurdwaras, they made the case Gurdwara is only a place where it is associated with the Sikh Gurus, the 10 Sikh Gurus, or where the Granth Sahib has been established. If we don't make it for any person, and now they have made a Gurdwara for Bhindranwale, which is completely against what they had presented when they were being formed. And who was this Bhindranwala? Bhindranwala said that every Hindu should kill, every Sikh should kill 35 Hindus, and 2 Sikhs in every village take a motorbike and take a pistol and get on the job, and people started killing. He used this caste slur for our Prime Minister. He called her a Bamani, and a caste slur for, our Ramgarhia president, who was Zail Singh. He called it a Gulligan. This was the guy, he said, if you don't release my bus, I will kill 5,000, I will chop 5,000 Hindus to pieces in 1 hour. This is a man so vile and so vicious and so evil. And, first they have made him a saint and now they have made a Gurdwara out of him. This is the biggest blasphemy. Not this little girl who has gone and then you have made the entire propaganda. You read, what is the SGPC history? You can't make a Gurdwara on any person, but they are making on this person who was the most vile,
not only making
vicious, deranged, evil.
You make a very strong point there, Puneet, and it's based on hard fact. And this fact is not very palatable to certain people. When you ask some of these hard questions to the SGPC, they then turn to become aggressive on you and then try and accuse you of beadbi. That's what's happening, Ramnik Man. The SGPC had found its voice to speak on Amritpal's wife, but did not find a voice to speak on the girl who had the tiranga on her cheeks. The SGPC took more than 48 hours to even take action against that Sevadar who was standing there and was saying this is Punjab and this is not India. Somewhere something is going wrong. They were so muted in the way he took the Palki Sahib and behind it stormed into a police station. Somewhere something is wrong. Are the custodians themselves now corrupted in their thoughts? And are they moving from the ideals and the tenets of Sikhi itself?
They always were. They always were corrupted in their minds and their thoughts. See, for them, pardon me for saying this, I'm saying it out aloud. For them, Gurdwara Sahibs are more like showrooms, they need to, collect money from, and then they misappropriate those funds. And then the money is also siphoned off towards the political, organization called Shiromani Akali Dal Badal. So SGPC and the Shiromani Akali Dal Badal, they have the same cadre. One day they could become a president of the SGPC, the other they will contest election on Badal ticket and they will become a minister in the government. So they have the same cadre, but the inter-organizational cadre is the same. And the entire agenda has been to pollute the minds of Sikhs over the period of years. And I would put the blame centrally on the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee for maximum failures to protect Sikhi and to protect Sikhs. I mean, can you imagine, in the past 20 years, the population of Sikhs in Punjab has fallen good 11%. 11% fallen Sikh population in Punjab, and SGPC has not taken cognizance. As a matter of fact, there was one time when the SGPC president was asked this question, and in reply, the journalist got the answer कि नहीं, there are no conversions happening. Sikha di koi conversion nahi ho sakti. So I mean, they are in complete state of denial. And the diminishing values, the diminishing tenets of Sikhi, I would pin the blame on the Badals for taking over the SGPC, which is a holy institution, and corrupting it thoroughly. It was of course, for a very different purpose. But then again, this is completely defeated, and I laud that, the Haryana Sikhs have a different committee, the Delhi Sikhs have a different committee, the Patna and Nanded Sahib Sikhs have a different committee. Now they run their affairs hopefully better than the SGPC. But again, coming back to the point, Anand, 84 and 2023 are almost 40 years apart. It's a very different time now. We are in the age of social media. We saw Amritpal being built up over a period of 6 months. And one bad move, one wrong move, the Ajnala incident, where he took Palki Sahib or Gurgan Sahib Prakash inside the police station, which was not taken well, and that brought him down. That was his downfall. But again, not to forget, the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee has not yet been able to say or come out clear whether it was Beadbi or not. Sacrileges, even today in Gurdwara Kotwali Sahib in Morinda, it is on camera that there has been sacrilege which has been committed by one person inside the Gurdwara, inside the Gurukar. So I don't know. I mean, they pick and choose. They are very selective in their outrage.
The moment
they would say that Kirandeep Kaur, wife of Amritpal, should not have been stopped. They would say, let me, Anand, please. They would say that we will give legal aid to the people who've been arrested. They sent a jatha to Dibrugarh to, try and defend these people who've been accused under NSA. So, on an odd day, they would say they will defend, people involved in the NSA. On an even day, they will say that, no, we believe in the unity of India. We believe that Punjab is a part of India. On another day, they will not allow a girl with a tricolor on her face. And then on another day, they will defend, Amritpal's wife. I mean, they don't have a stand. That's the problem with the SGPC.
Whether they have,
and they should take a firm stand. They should spell out very clearly what Maryada is,
and not just that.
What is not
the affairs of those who are calling the shots. Should that not be put under? Should that not be put under? Should that not be put under scrutiny? No. Then Sikhs need to take control of what is happening, because what they are doing, the actions of a few, is tarnishing the image of perhaps one of the purest causes.
It is an act of the parliament,
the teaching of the 10.
Anand, it is an act of the parliament. It's only the parliament which can decide
the teachings
what to do
of
with
the 10 gurus.
Either we come up with the All India Gurdwara Act. Anand, my brief submission is, Anand, either we come up with the All India Gurdwara Act, which has been promised. Let's come up with the All India Gurdwara Act. Let people from all across, Sikhs from all across India represent, and not just from one particular state or one particular caste represent Sikhs.
Right.
So let them come from all over India and, you know, take decisions for the Sikhs of this country and abroad.
Right. Thank you for your inputs. I think point well made. This also opens up the grounds for larger discussion and introspection. I thank all our panelists. We quickly move on, ladies and gentlemen, shifting focus from Punjab to Uttar Pradesh. A stunning twist to the Umesh Pal murder case, ladies and gentlemen. CNN News 18 has access footage from Bareilly jail in which Guddu Muslim, Asad, that is Atiq's third son, Ghulam, another close aide and a shooter, Usman, also another shooter, can be seen entering the Bareilly jail to meet Ashraf Ahmed. Ashraf is Atiq's brother. It is being said that the conspiracy to kill Umesh Pal was hatched in the Bareilly jail. This meeting was held on the 11th of February and lasted for almost 3 hours. And exactly 13 days later, Umesh Pal was killed in broad daylight in Prayagraj. So this kill Umesh Pal plot, there were 4 plans made. Plan A was killed during the Investor Summit. That attempt failed. The UP Global Investor Summit. Plan B was kill outside Prayagraj court. That attempt also failed. Plan C was to kill at any junction in Prayagraj. That attempt also failed, we are given to understand. The 4th plan, Plan D, was to murder him outside his residence. That operation eventually was successful. And there also the desperation was evident that Asad had to step out of the car and chase Umesh Pal, because had Umesh Pal got inside his house has a bulletproof door, and there wouldn't have been a possibility for the shooters to target him. There were 13 shooters at the ready, and Asad had to step out of the car, which was not part of the plan, and go after him, shooting and raining bullets on Umesh Pal. Another key accused in the Umesh Pal murder case, Guddu Muslim, has been absconding, and cops have launched a massive manhunt to nab him.
गुड्डू मुस्लिम लगातार फरार चल रहा है। कभी उसकी लोकेशन महाराष्ट्र में आती है, कभी ओडिशा में आती है, कभी रायपुर में आती है। कहाँ यूपीएसटीएफ की टीम है सर, और कितना जल्दी यूपीएसटीएफ के गिरफ्त में होगा गुड्डू मुस्लिम?
मैं आपको बता सकता हूं कि हमारी काफ़ी टीम्स इस कार्य में लगी, लेकिन कहाँ है इसके बारे में मैं कमेंट नहीं कर सकता। ये गैंग, अतीक का गैंग, काफ़ी रिसोर्सेज वाला गैंग रहा है। पैसे अथवा मदद करने वाले अथवा वेपन्स की इनके पास कभी कोई कमी नहीं रही। जो इनके मदद करने वाले लोग हैं, इनसे प्रॉफिट करने वाले लोग हैं, वो पूरे देश में फैले हुए हैं, संभवतः विदेशों में भी हैं। तो ये लगातार उनकी मदद ले रहे हैं। ये जो भी फरार अपराधी हैं उनकी मदद ले रहे हैं। हम लगातार ट्रैक करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। उम्मीद है कि जल्द गिरफ्तारी हो जाएगी। ये एक हायर्ड असैसिन है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किलर की तरह लोगों से कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेकर के क्राइम किया करता था। बमबाज है और साथ में वेपन्स चलाने में भी माहिर है। तो जब गोरखपुर पुलिस ने इसे पकड़ा था और इंट्रोगेशन किया था, तो जानकारी हुई थी कि उसके पहले ये बेऊर जेल गया था। वहाँ राजन तिवारी से मिलकर उसने कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लिया था, और उस केस में इसे 10 साल की सज़ा हुई थी। उस समय नारकोटिक्स के साथ पकड़ा गया था। 10 साल की सज़ा होने के बाद इसे अतीक ने अपने लॉयर्स के माध्यम से जमानत कराई, और तब से ये अतीक गैंग के लिए काम कर रहा है।
Now, meanwhile, Atiq's officers are under the scanner too. Surprisingly, early this morning, when the News 18 crew reached the now demolished office premises at Chakia, there were blood stains and a knife that were found inside this partially demolished office. The blood stains were found near the staircase, and as they were at the entrance, and then next to the kitchen of Atiq's office. More stains and a larger pool of blood was found on the first floor. The FSL team reached the spot, and it was the News 18 crew that alerted the cops, because there is a cop station just about 100 meters away from this particular spot. The FSL team came, senior officials of the Uttar Pradesh police came, they collected samples. CCTV footage will also now be examined. Have a look at this ground report by Priyanka Kanpal.
ये पूरा स्टेयरकेस है, सीढ़ी के पास का ये पूरा इलाका है। इसके ठीक नीचे भी खून का, मैं धब्बे नहीं कहूँगी, खून जैसी धार ये लाल रंग की धार यहाँ नजर आ रही है। आखिर ये धब्बे क्या हैं, वही शुरुआती तौर पर देखें जो पुलिसकर्मी यहाँ पर पहुंचे हैं उसको देखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। इस कमरे में जैसे ही हम पहुंचे, हम आपको वो तस्वीर नहीं दिखा सकते, लेकिन जहाँ मैं खड़ी हूँ मेरे ठीक पीछे यहाँ पर एक इसी खून से सनी हुई धोती या साड़ी जिसे कहा जाता है वो यहाँ पर मौजूद है। दूसरी तरफ अगर आप देखें तो पुलिस जो है वो लगातार कमरे दर कमरे छत पर जाकर वो चेक कर रही है कि इसके क्या कहीं और भी सोर्सेज मिल रहे हैं। ये ब्लड जैसे स्टेन, ये खून जैसे धब्बे क्या वाकई खून के हैं या किसी और चीज के हैं, और अगर ये हैं तो ये यहाँ कैसे आए। यहाँ पर इस पूरे ऑफिस की अगर बात की जाए तो इसको बुलडोज हुए 2 साल से ज्यादा का समय हो चुका है। अब यहाँ कोई नहीं रहता। यहाँ पर केवल बात की जाए तो केवल कपड़े पड़े हैं या डॉक्यूमेंट्स पड़े हैं या फाइलें पड़ी हैं, इसके अलावा यहाँ पर कुछ भी नहीं है।
Meanwhile, here's proof of Atiq and his family's doings, the horror of their activities now on video. News 18 has accessed a video from 2021. This is sometime in January 2021, and this was sourced through the phones of one of the now accused and now dead in this case, this entire case. This actually reveals how they actually ran a torture cell. Asad has been caught on camera assaulting a youth with a belt. The man stripped naked, being brutally thrashed. It's being said that this was actually Atiq's flat in Lucknow, where this man was brutally beaten. They're making a video of beating him up. This is what was happening. No sympathy for such brutes, ladies and gentlemen, but our heart goes out to the family of Tarek Fatah ji, Pakistan-born Canadian colonist, a lover of India, and of course, very, very popularly followed. He passed away after fighting, battling illness, terminal illness for a long time at the age of 73. He's based in Canada, died after a long-drawn battle with cancer. His daughter, Natasha Fatah, confirmed the news of his death. In a post on Twitter, she wrote, "The Lion of Punjab, son of Hindustan, lover of Canada, speaker of the truth, fighter for justice, voice of the downtrodden, underdogs and the oppressed, at Tarek Fatah has passed the baton on. His revolution will continue with all who knew and loved him. Tributes from all across have poured in for him."
He just found shelter with few people. So to that extent, the idea of creating further avatars of Bhindranwale has hit a roadblock, has suffered a setback, and it is not an easy to replicate model. That is a good gain, and Punjab police has been mature. It is been sensitive about handling the religious places, so it's not created a situation where things would have got out of control. Whether they should have taken this much of time to apprehend him is a different issue that can be analyzed. But now let me get to the crux of the problem. The problem is ISI runs a K2 cell. That cell is tasked for fomenting trouble in Kashmir and for Khalistan cause. And they are using drones for sending explosives, weapons, and all kind of nefarious activities they are attempting.
Yes.
There is a certain amount of synergy between the state police and BSF. Today, a joint flag march was taken out in Moga. I commend that. Taking Amritpal to Dibrugarh and confining him with 8 other associates of his and putting him under NSA, again, I commend that. BSF finding some methods to deter drones, which is increasingly seen, once again, appreciable. But we cannot let our guard down. We have to be careful. And in any case, investigation has to be got completed expeditiously so that we can prepare a dossier, hand it over to FATF and other agencies, name and shame Pakistan, take legal action against this person and create a deterrent kind of environment based on our investigation.
Yes.
And also, there is an air of skepticism in Punjab. There are wild theories floating around. So, it'll be a good idea to share information, to put out a white paper if required.
Yes.
So that people are reassured that there is no conspiracy taking place, things are under control, and more will be done. And coupled with this is the socio-economic dimension of the problem. You have to skill the youth over there. You have to give them education. You have to get them localized here and not run away to Canada and USA and UK.
Yes,
So
because a lot of
all,
this kind of propaganda that we see in Punjab or in India comes from across the borders, comes from people who are sitting on foreign soil, enjoying the kind of immunity that they do there, which perhaps gives them the confidence to spew the kind of venom that they do. And I want to get in the former DG of Punjab, Shashikant, who's on the panel as well. And like Lieutenant General KJ Singh was also pointing out, the kind of synergy that we have seen between the centre and the state and the agencies as far as this operation goes, that is something that should be commended. But the questions that are being raised about how it took 36 days for the police to actually track him down, for him to be arrested today, and the fact that he did in fact escape from right under the nose of the Punjab police. Are those questions completely misplaced, Shashikant?
Look, as far as synergy is concerned, yes, that needs to be praised and commended on, yes. There has been synergy between the Punjab police, the central intelligence agencies, and the paramilitary forces and everything. Everybody was on the same page as far as this thing is concerned. But having said this thing, I just want to say about what exactly Pakistan is doing. I think I have been a student of this kind of operations, and I've read a lot about it. It was one of the most notorious, most mischievous operations launched by the ISI, whereby they planted a person here. They're hoping that it was whether it could create a kind of situation there, which was there in mid-80s. And I'm happy to say that the Punjabis have sort of given a, we have not stood by it, and we have given a proper answer to Pakistan. But again, having said this thing, this person has been arrested, but again, it's not the end of the road. This guy was hiding somewhere for 35 days. Somebody was feeding him. Somebody was giving him money. Somebody was choreographing, like I said, Pakistan has been choreographing. What was the channel? That channel needs to be exposed, and all these persons who were in cahoots with this particular person, they need to be brought to the books, and proper legal action needs to be taken about it. And lastly, as I think General Saab was also saying, yes, it's about the time where the government, not only of Punjab, but the central government also, they need to take care of the problems that we have in Punjab, on which this guy tried to encash upon. This is drug addiction. This is youngsters going abroad. This absence of jobs. These are some of the burning issues on which the state government and the central government will have to monitor very closely and find some sort of answer to it.
And as far as whether this marks the end of the Khalistani.
Back on the right stand with the debate over same-sex marriage, which is only getting bigger. Now the Bar Council of India has unanimously resolved to request the Supreme Court to leave the issue of same-sex marriage to the legislative process for widespread consultation. The Bar Council of India has said that marriage is a union of biological man and woman, and it would be catastrophic to overhaul concepts of marriage by any court. When adoption, inheritance, marriage, birth, death are not the remit of the Honorable Supreme Court as per the Chief Justice of India, and that it is the remit of the legislature, how can the issue of inserting or considering same-sex marriage, that too not across all ambits of marriage but only under the Special Marriages Act, be the remit of the Honorable Supreme Court of the country with a 5-judge bench? This is a question many people are asking, and is this a case of judicial overreach? Also, the Chief Justice's observations have caused quite a furor, that in the guise of observations, can you actually make comments that you have done, and does that actually befit the seat of the Chief Justice, chair of the Chief Justice? Interestingly, filmmaker Vivek Ranjan Agnihotri, who's made Kashmir Files, who's made Vaccine War and is working on Delhi Files, has put out A very interesting tweet that's got a lot of traction and perhaps will echo with a lot of people across the board. He says 10 important questions on the 5-judge bench on same-sex. So that's where he starts, 5-judge bench on same-sex marriage. And he says, with utmost respect for the judges and the judiciary, not questioning their competence, merits of families, I have some humble observations about a potential conflict of interest. He says, as per the available information on the net, all 5 judges are upper caste and privileged. There is no representation from the SC, ST or other oppressed class. All of them are UC Hindus or upper caste Hindus. No representation from Muslims, Christians, Jains, Sikhs, Parsis, etc. No representation from marginalized, discriminated LGBTQ++ category. Okay, is it possible for this group of judges, privileged Hindu only bench, to change constitution and destiny of a nation without any representation from marginalized communities? If the Chief Justice of India observed that sex is not absolute and one can identify as either man or woman, then shouldn't it be mandatory for all the esteemed judges to declare whom do they identify as? For I don't know if the arguments, observations, judgments are being made by a man or woman. This is what he is turning around and saying. Let's scroll down a little and look at points 5 and 6. We'll take that further. Let's look at point 5 downwards. What does he say? He says, I'm sure all esteemed judges are academically and professionally super qualified, but in a diverse country like ours, are these UC privileged Hindus whose gender identification is unknown, are they culturally, psychologically, civilizationally and spiritually equipped to re-engineer world's oldest society? I understand that even the counsel arguing in the case are mostly upper caste privileged Hindus. None of them have identified their gender. So plenty of observations and plenty of questions there. Going straight across to Shashank Shekhar Jha and Nikhil Mehra joining us at this point. Namaste, Jai Hind. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Where do you stand, Shashank ji? Do you identify with the concerns raised by Vivek Ranjan Agnihotri? Is this a remit of the top court or should it be left to the legislature?
Namaste. I think this is a very clear observation, and the questions which has been raised by Vivek Ranjan Agnihotri is being bound to be asked by every citizen of this country. Now, Supreme Court is dealing with a question which will regulate or change the future of 140 crore population of this country. So definitely such questions will arise, especially in a country where the society is divided among themselves in such a huge manner which is unseen or unparalleled. Whatever Bar Council of India has said today is also nothing which can be disputed. Even all those petitioners who have asked for same-sex recognition and declaration by the Supreme Court of India have actually said the same things, as in that not many are in their support, and that is why they have moved before the Supreme Court of India, because as per their own claim, Parliament is not taking up the matter. So I don't think there is any dispute in that. Now, as for a matter of record, all 5 judges are definitely coming from UC background. So that is also one thing which Mr. Agnihotri has pointed out. Now, how it will be taken up in future, I don't know. But yes, without questioning the competency of the honorable judges of the honorable Supreme Court, I think that all those questions must be asked, and that is why.
By large, the question has been, with due respect to the wisdom of the benches, can a group of men, 4-5 individuals or 5 individuals, decide the fate of a country as diverse as Bharat with multiple rules and society? Especially when we don't have a common civil code. Until we have a common civil code, will there be continuously discrimination? Rights of one person be discriminated against the rights of another based on the judgment of a few? Is that possible? Nikhil Mehra, where do you stand?
With a request 5 or 7 or 9 or 11, and they are trying to diversify what their particular membership is, but this is really to be perfectly honest with you, Anand, really pointless question. The constitution of the court is what it is. Questions keep arising at the moment at which they arise. Are we, for example, say that if ever have to make a decision on Article 3, there are no Kashmiris on the bench, therefore this is not a valid decision. This is just not how you look at the court. The court is always static. It has a certain membership and it has questions that are posed to it, and it must answer those questions.
Why?
I also do not agree that there is some massive re-engineering of society happening here. To be perfectly honest with you, the Parliament has had the opportunity to address this issue for quite some time. The first judgment on legality of homosexuality happened as far back as 2009. Then the issue of legalization was thrown back to Parliament by Supreme Court. Parliament again took no step. Eventually, a review had to be filed, and that review led to a striking down of 377 in relation to consensual practices. So Parliament repeatedly wants to take no steps whatsoever. So the issue the court is posed with is there a violation of fundamental rights? That is a core judicial function. Nobody can tell me that that is not a question the court can. That is a question the court can answer.
But can the court formulate law?
Can
the court formulate law? And is the court right in saying I'll set personal law aside, but I will look at it only under the construct of the Special Marriages Act? But that itself defeats the purpose of the court, which takes a position that the common anything to do with the common civil code is not within the remit of the courts. It's with the legislature, because that's the exact words of the Chief Justice when it comes to divorce, when it comes to adoption, when it comes to laws on marriages, when it comes to laws on inheritance, that we need a common code so that it's not discriminatory against one or the other. And the court has come back and said, no, it's the remit of the legislature, Shashank Shekharja. So in this case, if the Parliament is not ready, is Parliament not a reflection of society? Is society then at large ready? If society is not ready, and if you have not thought this through, then is this not going to lead to further discrimination?
This will definitely lead to further discrimination. See, Parliament represent people of this country, and that is why for particular seats there are reservation for those categories who are not otherwise being represented properly in this country. Before Supreme Court, there is no such provisions. And when these 5 judges are discussing over the same, you need to understand that they are trying to create a new law. They are trying to make space for homosexuals in a heterosexual law, thereby creating new laws, and which will ultimately disturb all other laws. For example, inheritance law, adoption law, custody rights, child rights, etc., etc. This is a country, we need to understand, this is a country where Islamic law permit marriage rights for women of over 15 years, which is not allowed for Hindu women. So how will you deal with that? This is a country where marriage rights is permissible for men over 21 and for women it is 18. How will you deal with that? So I think, just cherry picking particular things, and you are saying that you will only deal with special marriage act will ultimately, will go against the interest of all those who are actually petitioning this before the court.
Nikhil. Can you hear me, Nikhil? Now, at the end of the day, there are also observations. Shashank, in the past, the courts have said, I think we lost me. Quickly want to understand from you. The courts have said, don't take our observations as law or judgments. We have got the right to observe. But the nature of the observations, can they become controversial? Can they become a huge matter of debate? Or should one let it slide? Nikhil Mehra, when the Chief Justice himself sits there and talks about gender fluidity, then is that defeating the purpose altogether?
And I understand. Let me put this in 2 ways, right? First thing is, when you said that they don't want to step into the domain of personal law, first and foremost, they have often stepped into the domain of personal law. Problem in India is that the legal position is such that they are often required to interpret ecclesiastical law, in fact. So on this occasion, they have stepped out of that domain to say that we are not redefining marriage there, but we may be able to define marriage in the context of a parliament-made law, which is a man-made law. Because what you do not want to do is for the Supreme Court to declare an additional interpretation or a meaning, and this clearly is that. Let's be crystal clear about it. The Special Marriage Act is passed from a gendered perspective. It is passed from a male-female perspective, and so this is an additional interpretation. And they don't want to impose that upon personal law. As to this second question that you've asked me, look, there is a slight danger that comes with this constant. One is the live streaming of proceedings, as well as this lot of live tweeting of proceedings. there are a lot of questions, a lot of throwaway observations that happen in these kinds of cases,
right,
where the judges tend to put positions to counsel so as to be able to test the entirety of the principle on the whole.
Right. We'll see how it pans out. I've run out of time. Before I wind this broadcast up, Shashank and Nikhil, thank you for your joining us. This calls for a larger conversation very soon. But before we wind up this edition of The Right Stand, here's celebrating the 50th birthday of someone who's always taken the right stand for India in the cricket field, Sachin Tendulkar.
I still don't feel like I'm 50, honestly speaking. I'd much rather put it differently. 25-year-old with 25 years of experience sounds better.
Master Blaster Sachin Tendulkar, fondly known as the god of cricket, a role model to millions around the globe, turns 50. Widely regarded as one of the greatest cricketers of all time, Sachin Tendulkar has numerous records and accolades in his 24 years of career in cricket. Demonstrating his power and versatility at the crease, Sachin has most runs in international cricket, 34,357. He is the only cricketer to score 100 international centuries, including 51 in Tests and 49 in ODIs. Sachin Tendulkar has also been awarded India's highest civilian award, the prestigious Bharat Ratna.
I can eat whatever I want, but not whenever I want. Okay. So once you strike that balance, then you're okay. On a lighter note, I used to tell my friends, gym में 10 मिनट ज़्यादा बैठो और डाइनिंग टेबल पे कम बैठो. One needs to train, be active. If you don't want to go and train in a gym, you could go on walks, jog, whatever, play any sport. I feel every individual should pick up a sport, any sport. That keeps you mentally healthy as well as physically. I think mental health is also equally important.
As he celebrates his 50th birthday, Sachin's daughter Sara shared a picture of their journey together over the years. His peers too wished him. Some even shared their most cherished moments with the Master Blaster on social media.
A very happy birthday to Sachin Paji. 50th birthday. A big milestone. हम यही दुआ करते हैं कि आप हमेशा खुश रहें, फैमिली के साथ.
Wishing you a very happy birthday. We loved and cherished every moment that I shared with you in the dressing room. You know, this is 50 not out. Like your 100 hundreds. I hope you get to 100 not out as well.
You're a big part of my life, big chunk of my life. I was very privileged to be spending that time with you, probably more time than you probably wanted me to spend with you. But mate, lovely spending time with you. Have a great birthday. I'm glad you've reached the magic 50.
This is just another 50, Sachin. Maybe another, double it up. Double it up.
Yes, he's scored 100 hundreds. Yeah. So I'm sure he's going to score another 100 in his life.
जी अक्सर मैदान में जो आपने कहा उसका उल्टा ही किया है. तो आपके 50वें जन्मदिन पर उल्टा होकर शीर्षासन में विश करना तो बनता ही है. प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि आपका जीवन हमेशा सीधा चले. Happy 50th birthday, Paji. Enjoy.
And it wasn't just from the cricketing fraternity. Wishes poured in from people across the world. The former cricketer too took to social media. His celebratory message was 50 not out.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The Prime Minister is making a direct outreach to the people of Kerala, a state where the BJP has remained the third and not so influential political player so far. Politics in Kerala has always been dominated by the CPIM on the one hand and the Congress on the other. Now the BJP is hoping to break this duopoly by reaching out to the Christian community in the state. The heads of various Christian denominations have come out recently and supported the Prime Minister and his party. But will the Christians of Kerala give the BJP a chance? Because that, demographically speaking and numerically speaking, is the only reasonable shot that the BJP has in God's own country.